Pope Francis has publicly expressed pain and shame over the rape and molestation of children by priests in Chile. His remarks came during his visit to the Latin American country, which has been gripped by a scandal and which has scarred the credibility of the Church. The pontiff also had a private meeting with some of the victims and addressed the issue of abuse during a mass in Santiago. These moments of turbulence, I know the pain of these cases of child abuse, and I'm following how much is needed to overcome this serious and painful evil. That is why I ask you all to ask God to give us the lucidity in His name, for the courage to ask for forgiveness and to listen to what God is telling us. Despite the scandal, the welcome most Chileans have given Francis has been warm, with tens of thousands lining the streets. On Thursday, he's due to continue his tour in Peru. Catalan independent supporters in Barcelona have held a march ahead of the first session of the region's new parliament after December's snap elections. They were calling for the release of 2 jailed civic leaders after their part in Catalonia's banned independence drive. One has been elected an MP. Meanwhile, Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont, who was ousted as part of the Spanish government's takeover of the region, has been nominated by separatist parties to lead the new regional government, despite his being in exile in Belgium. The December elections were called to resolve months of secessionist unrest, but the poll returned a slim majority for parties favouring independence. The first parliamentary session could prove a major headache for Madrid.
Donald Trump's doctor has described the US president's cognitive ability as normal. It follows a 3-hour medical examination last week, his first since entering the White House in 2016. There have been concerns Trump's mental health has deteriorated during his time in office.
The president is mentally very sharp, very intact. And
do you believe he is fit for duty?
Absolutely, he's fit for duty. I think he will remain fit for duty for the remainder of this term and even for the remainder of another term if he's elected.
Last week's publication of Fire and Fury inside the Trump White House reignited the debate about the 71-year-old's health. Author Michael Wolff alleged Trump's intellectually and mentally incapable of carrying out his role, and is even described as a child by staff. The US president since dismissed the book's claims, saying they're full of lies and Wolff had zero access to him.
US President Donald Trump's former chief strategist has been summoned to testify before a grand jury. Steve Bannon was reportedly subpoenaed last week by former FBI Director Robert Mueller, who's leading an inquiry into alleged collusion with Russia during the 2016 presidential election campaign. However, the summons could be a strategic move designed to convince Bannon to speak with Mueller's team privately instead of testifying in front of a grand jury. Bannon was sacked in August over comments he made to author Michael Wolff for his recent book Fire and Fury inside the Trump White House. He was quoted as calling a meeting in June 2016 between Mr. Trump's son Donald Jr., his son-in-law Jared Kushner and a Russian lawyer as treasonous. There was a big drop in the number of new asylum seekers in Germany last year to just under 190,000. But the country's Interior Minister Thomas de Maizière says he still considers that figure much too high. In 2016, when the Balkan refugee route was largely shut down, that figure was almost 100,000 more, with a peak of 890,000 in 2015. De Maizière said that refugees, particularly from the Middle East and Afghanistan, remained a general European problem, but for now the greatest influx was past for Germany. Almost half of rejected asylum seekers in the country won on appeal last year. Franziska Wilmar from Amnesty International Germany said that courts are trying to improve the quality of the decisions being made on refugee asylum requests. It's almost, she adds, like saying to the next incoming government, if the courts are overburdened, maybe we should separate family reunification claims from non-family claims. Because currently most claims are requests to be reunited with other family members.
Der Hauptgrund, weshalb im Moment geklagt wird, dass man nämlich versucht, darüber auch das Recht auf Familiennachzug zu bekommen.
A more than 2-year-long migration crisis has caused immigration to become a major political issue in many European countries. In France, a record number of asylum requests were recorded last year, rising by 17% to over 100,000. Albanians top the list despite having less chance of obtaining refugee status than people from war-torn countries.
Romania's ruling Social Democratic Party has nominated MEP Viorica Dancila for Prime Minister after the sudden resignation of Michal Tudose. Dancila is a close ally of PSD leader Liviu Dragnea. However, President Klaus Iohannis, who is a bitter critic of the government, is not obliged to give his support. Euronews asked leading Romanian politician and EU Parliament Vice President Johan Mircea-Pașcu his view.
Every time I believe the President will accept the proposal of the party because there are no apparent reasons why he should not. And actually in the Constitution it's written, that the President has to nominate the person which has been advanced, by the governing coalition or party. With a strong majority still in Parliament, there is no reason to call early elections. And if someone would like to transform artificially such crisis into a reason to provoke early elections, is also artificial.
Former Prime Minister Michal Tudose quit suddenly on Monday after only 7 months in the job when his party withdrew its backing for him. The PSD has been riven by internal divisions and has struggled to win public confidence after ballot rigging and other corruption scandals. There's been alarm in Gaza and at the United Nations at a US announcement that it's withholding half of a $125 million aid installment for the Palestinians. One official said the move would have devastating consequences for thousands of vulnerable people. It comes 2 weeks after President Trump questioned the value of such funding.
We're not giving up on peace talks. We're not giving up on those conversations. It's something very important to this administration. Secretary Tillerson ultimately made this decision in consultation with other members of the administration. And so that's where things landed.
But members of the Palestinian Liberation Organization say that Palestinians are being punished and that Trump is favoring Israel in his Mideast policy. President Trump announced Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, but he doesn't have the right to do so in a move against international law and other agreements. The other issue is that now he's trying to cut the aid for the UN Relief Agency and put more pressure to delete the refugees' rights of return. At the United Nations, Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has said he hopes the funds will be forthcoming and stressed that the UN Relief Agency provides vital services to Palestinian refugees in both the occupied territories and in Jordan, Syria and Lebanon.
Televidentes, en que llegan a final de Notisia Internacional. Nós está vai para corte publicitario e ora nós está back e deporte com nosso colega Carl Reuter.